Hello everyone. I hope everybody can see me clearly. Okay, I think we have good light. Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining our session today. Okay, so what session we have today? It's Manthan. What Manthan means, like where we will be discussing throughout our own ideas and thoughts. So this is a platform where we will be discussing. I hope everybody can see me clearly. My signing is seen perfectly by everyone, or is it the hazy one? Okay, so my sign name is this. I am Tushar, Tushar. I am working with Here a Million, which is a part of the Enable India project, and I'm working with it. Can we have a PPT, please? Just wait for a while. Okay, so here we have the PPT. Great. Now everybody can see. Can we go on the next slide, please? So we would like to welcome everyone to Manthan. Thank you so much. Thank you once again. So I hope the COVID cases are reducing and I thought that people might not join, but that's great. The number of participants, it's more than 120. And we are so glad more than 125 people have joined. So Manthan, Here a Million have planned it for the 8th time today. So we have successfully organized 7 times Manthan. So we do it every quarterly so that we can discuss our thoughts and our own ideas. What is our aim to discuss and have this Manthan so that we could grow the deaf community and we can resolve the queries and we can provide the solutions, and that's how deaf community can get better and can grow as well. Next slide, please. So we have the sign language interpreters as well, so who are voicing, and if you would like to see the closed captioning, you can click on that as well. So the presenter, after they present, and if you have any queries, you can ask your questions and you can raise your hands if you would like to ask any question to the presenter. So we are providing the accessibility through the sign language interpreter, and we are providing the closed captioning as well. Please remember that you have to, as you can see, my name as well, right? In the left bottom. So you have to mention your name and / mentioning your organization name. If you are an individual, that's okay. You can just mention your name. If you are representing any organization, kindly mention that as well. So if anybody would be asking any question, then we can easily figure out and we can spell your name while you are asking the question. That would help us. Kindly rename yourself. So after this, as you can see our agenda today. So now we will be going through it and we will be closing it at 8:30. So we will be discussing more about it later on. You can see the agenda, what we have today. I hope this looks fine. Now we can go to the next slide. Can we go on the previous slide? Can we turn off the PPT? Okay. So now I would like to tell everybody that, everybody they gets excited, and I think you would like to have Mr. Sivaji right now. But from before that, I would like to ask you a poll question, and after that we can invite him to present. So we would like to uh, ask you a question. So there is a poll question. So in India, as you can see that the deaf education, you can see that it's quite weak, right? And the education system is not that good enough. So do you want and are you demanding for quality education? If you say yes, are you agree for that? You can say yes. If not, you can mention no. So you can see that the sign language is not available in the schools and teachers are not signing, and there could be a better methods could utilize for the deaf students. There are very few deaf teachers in the schools, and you already know about the situation. So if you would like to change that situation for a deaf students, so now we will be having a poll question and you have to answer there. So you have to answer the poll question now. Let's see how many people have answered. So 140 above people have joined, but only 88 people have answered right now. I would request other people to answer the poll question. You can see the poll question would be coming up on your screen and you can answer that. Yes, we will be waiting for your answers. So 138, 99 people have answered and we would like one more. Okay, now we have 100 people who have answered the poll question. Okay, so as you can see the results of the poll question, 100 people have answered the poll questions, and people who would like to have the quality education are demanding for that. 99% people have said yes from the 101, and only 1% had said no, that that person would like to have a same situation in the education system. So that means 99% have agreed for it. It means we have to work and we have to make a better education system in India. I think the light got turns off. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for answering the poll question. So now next what we have, we would be having now Mr. Sibaji Panda. So here you can see the picture. I know that everybody would know who is Mr. Sibaji Panda. He's a well-known person and he's a great leader and he's supporting deaf community and deaf education, and he's trying to change the system for the deaf students here in India. And he's been working from long time. He's expert and he has done a research as well. He's also a teacher. So there is there are a lot plus for him. So he has done a lot of things and he has a 20 plus years of experience and is still working for the deaf community. So now, as you can see, ecosystem of deaf education in India. What does it mean? You might be thinking it's quite different. So now we would be having Mr. Sibaji Panda who will be presenting. Can we have Mr. Sibaji Panda, please?
Hi, can you hear me, Manisha?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, Mr. Sibaji.
Hi, can you see me well?
Yeah, it's clear.
Great, thank you. So, should I begin? All right. Hello. Um, are the interpreters ready? So are we ready, everyone? Are you ready? Can I take my session forward? So I would wait for Tushar's. Go ahead, Tushar. Are we good to go?
Yes, you can start.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from UK. That's where I am at. I would like to thank Here a Million, the team, for having me here. I'm really excited. And this is one of the topics which is really close uh, to my heart, the ecosystem. I really love this topic. And I have been thinking and working around this topic because if you see in the PPT next to me, what is the ecosystem or the deaf ecosystem? But I will get to that, before which I would like for you to understand how the water cycle works. So how do we get water? Do you wonder that we always have water? How uh, evaporation works, how the sun helps in evaporating water, then it condenses in form of rain and we get the water. So if there is no sun, there's no evaporation, there's no rain. Without heat, there wouldn't be a climate, there wouldn't be wind. The trees, you would know if there are no trees, it impacts so many things. The river, the fish, the flora, the fauna, all of this works in a very delicate balance. You know, they work together. And if everything works together, there are no issues. But now you would see more and more there is reduction and fluctuation in the rain cycle because of excessive deforestation. And without rain, there would be excessive or extreme heat, and that would lead to our death. So that is the ecosystem. Now, how does it link to the deaf education system? So, you know, in your mind, what do you think is the deaf ecosystem? So there will be many questions around it. And there are some questions which I would like to answer myself. And I would start with how many of you, you know, went to school and had a fantastic or a good education, quality, learning, understanding? No, right? If, you know, your children, your daughter is deaf, and you would, of course, aspire for them to have good education. As you would see that your neighbors, you're hearing neighbors are putting their children in a private school, and it's fancy. And you with your deaf kid, you know, you would say that, that option doesn't work for me. I take my deaf child, to another educational institute, and none of them are able to provide quality education. So like this, there are many questions regarding the education system. Do we had good, skilled teachers? Are the policy and the law around education, do they match the needs of deaf children and deaf learners? No. The deaf leaders, various associations, are the advocacy efforts good enough? No. Education is not the priority as of now. So another question, if you just talk about deaf individuals, if we have good education, strong knowledge, the kind of change you want, the kind of quality you want, if you're advocating or are you establishing movements around it, we are not. But let me tell you that education for the deaf can be fantabulous. It can be quality. So now if you say that you want really good food, tasty food, and you say that, you don't have good masalas, the vegetables are not there, and how do you get tasty food? You need the items, right? You need masala, you need vegetables, you need these things to prepare good food. If you don't have those things, you don't get tasty food. So similar is the situation with the deaf educational ecosystem, which is broken at multiple uh, places. I have been working almost 10 to 15, maybe 20 years in the education system. And I am from a deaf family. I have, my own lived experiences where I have navigated and, broadened my horizons. And, when we talk about the word normal, who is normal? We call hearing people normal, correct? So they are actually normal according to the meaning of the word. All their achievements, milestones, aspirations, everything is in place. They have jobs, they have everything. But when we talk about deaf people, you know, uh, we, talk about that, yes, you shouldn't discriminate, you shouldn't oppress the community. But, when let's have the perspective, let's change the perspective of the word normal. When I have a deaf child, I can't take that kid to a deaf school because there are no quality deaf schools. Look at the presentation, the slide. You can see on the table there good vegetables, everybody is having a good meal. But how do vegetables actually get to that table? It's that entire food chain. And when you eat, it's not just raw vegetables, right? You would cook it, you would flavor it with masalas, you put oil. And where does all of this come from? This comes from farming. You put manure. What is manure? It's mostly cow dung. If there are no cows, if there's no good soil, if there's no rain, you won't have vegetables and food on your table. Now, link this to deaf education and let me explain how this ecosystem thing works. My focus here is, to talk about how, if the ecosystem within the deaf community, if that works, we will have good education. But if the connections or the bridges to this ecosystem are broken, we wouldn't have quality education. Let me give you two examples. You have many deaf individuals who have been to a deaf school, and we have had very frustrating experiences wherein we were always, blaming the teachers, basically. And if somebody talked about us and our low literacy and education skills, we were quick to say that our parents, weren't helpful, weren't supportive enough. The school education system wasn't supportive enough. So yes, we understand that blaming, because when families or your relatives or civil service organizations come into the picture, then, and we have to navigate a lot. And really later in our lives, there's so many NGOs which are teaching English, computer skills, various vocational skills. And many deaf individuals, when they start joining these organizations much later in life, and they develop and broaden their skills, and there are more and more deaf people like this navigating life and becoming leaders, Now, I myself would say uh, yes, so again, you see how the education system works. Deaf children, many deaf kids would have, 90% or 80% in their certifications. And certificates, as you know, in India are powerful, and they help us getting employment. And you do get employment after trying. And does that satisfy us? It, of course, gives us money, but in the longer run, you know, thinking about going into civil services, going into higher education, research practices in universities, that vision is not there. That thinking is not there. Maybe on the certificates, these deaf children have 90%, but they are unable to have a great career. They are unable to help other deaf people. So the deaf group who are really working really hard, the leaders and the individuals who have learned from their own barriers, not just, school. So 15 years of school, sitting in these classrooms day and night with nothing in your information, just copying and pasting, and next year again doing the same thing. And, the certificate may be saying 70, 80%, but the knowledge and the understanding is not there, which happens much later when you go to various organizations. That is why you would see majority of deaf people, not having good education. But compare it to the hearing, uh, community. See how they're progressing, see how they're developing in the education, in career, and employment, because accessible communication access is not an issue. The ecosystem is strong and it is set, but for the deaf, it is not. And, that's a barrier. So to navigate that barrier, you go to a NGO, you go to an NGO, right? But, imagine going to a mechanic. You go to a mechanic when something needs fixing in your car or something like that. So, think of a factory where the parts are actually assembled. It takes like 10 to 15 years of testing. And, when you try out, it doesn't work properly. In the NGO, the deaf people are coming to us like this after 15 years of, sitting at a factory with nothing taken care of. Then they come to us and we just fix it a little bit. But you know what, in NGOs, we can just make them working. They're just able to, get on the road. But we're talking about quality education, right? Do you think all of us want 99% education, 99% in our, educational pursuits? How do we do it? There are about 800 to 900 deaf schools in the country. There are some deaf children also being mainstreamed in hearing schools, mainstream schools. And come to think of it, we have to keep on innovating due to the solutions which are needed for solve these problems. And these cannot be done in 2 years or 3 years. It takes 10, 20, 30 years. You have to have a vision. Similarly, we are deaf people, we want to have normal education, normal college, be able to go to any educational institute. But how do we get it? It's heavy work. It'll take decades of work. And who are the people who are in the position, who have the power? It's we, us deaf people. Just thinking about getting a job and saving your life and your family and making the ends meet. If, you just spend some time to me, I'll try to give you a different lens, which will actually, make you introspect and think about your aspirations, wanting to go into higher education, getting to university, getting to research. So I'm looking at expanding this network of people. But and also, it is not the system which needs change. It first, we need to understand about the ecosystem, the issues, and the various uh, points which are broken or still not there. If we can do this, and it doesn't happen at home, it doesn't happen individually. We have to research about the issues. There's constant and consistent research required, and change comes gradually. Let me give you an example. When you look at the big question, why has deaf education failed? The Rehabilitation Council of India, who are responsible for the teacher special education courses, who are the ones um, making teachers who are studying D.Ed and B.Ed, but the actual teaching which is happening, the B.Ed or the D.Ed teachers who are qualified, when they come into schools, are they able to teach? No. You set up a hospital, but you fill with quacks wearing white coats. None of us will be healed. So why are these people getting jobs? Why aren't they already being dealt with and removed from these positions? But we are not talking about the elephant in the room. We are still focusing about assistive devices like hearing aids, cochlear implants, and the list goes on. And it doesn't help when we talk about it and advocating for it, because there's a very strong lobby. Next is inclusion. Inclusion happens when 3 to 4 or a fixed, small number of hearing deaf students are in a mainstream environment. You mix and match, get interpreters in, have audio visual support, but that is also not a consistent or a strong, totally friendly environment. And look at all these students who are passing 10th and 12th school every year with literally very rudimentary or fundamental knowledge, not even fundamental knowledge. And is the government, being put to task? Are we talking about these guys? Are we sending letters? Are we putting representations in the judiciary? We are not really doing anything. How do we solve these issues? How do you get that quality in education which you want? First, we need to understand the mistakes. What are the issues and challenges? We need to come together. If you think, 99%, you just filled the question, the poll, right? 99% of us said that we need quality education. So for that, we need to come together. There has to be sharing. There has to be a lot of work we have to do, because that is what the change in this education system needs. I'm sure you all are looking social media. You've heard about Happy Hands School for the Deaf in Odisha. And maybe you think that, it's a fantastic organization, all signing environment. But at the same time, we, are in the process. We are still researching. It is a work in process. It will take time for it to get where we want it to, but in a span of half a decade or so, it could become a model organization, which if you want, to copy and remodel into other organizations, I actually suggest against it, because it is important to understand the educational philosophy required for deaf people and make work on it. So how does knowledge happen completely? Sorry, how does somebody learn fully? Because if you want to be a pilot, you have to get into a course and study it in depth. It doesn't in 2 days you just don't learn how to maneuver a plane. So similarly, you have to understand educational philosophy, deaf pedagogy, to be able to teach in the deaf education sector. I'm actually really happy that many deaf schools now are having employing deaf teachers in huge numbers. Haryana Welfare Society for the Deaf, and there are many other institutions who are now recognizing deaf professionals who are in the education sector, who have had certification. But it's not enough. We need more people. We need more alternate courses, alternate educational options. It could be a 3-year or a 4-year program, which is in depth. But yes, we are still not there. We need more time, more work, and hopefully in the future, when more and more deaf students are fully educated and educated optimally to their best, to their max, they can stand up and get into various platforms. See, you might be doing D.Ed, you might be doing B.Ed and other courses, but the knowledge, the philosophy, the RCI courses, we won't say that, so just because the course is not good, we don't necessarily have to have that the deaf education is not good. because you have to think about the life of these deaf children who are in these schools. Or imagine if you had your deaf child, what would happen to this kid? He wouldn't ever be able to go to a white collar job. We don't want to put him in the same kind of a repetitive rehabilitation course. So we have to think long term, and this can be achieved. Sorry, I think, yes, do let me know when I'm done with my time for the presentation. So continuing with that, if you think about 1 week or 10 days back, I had a very surprising visit, or a surprising piece of information, that in America, the courts, they have spoken about a petition where a mother has petitioned to the court that their child didn't get good education because the mess that the education sector is in US, and the court actually ruled in favor of these parents. The National Association of the Deaf US very recently announced that the court has supported this petition by the woman and the deaf kid. So we have the RPWD Act, and education is a human right. And in the Indian Constitution, if you even see the Indian Constitution, equality, equality is in all aspects of life, be it education, which is a right, uh, all aspects. But are we getting it? We are not. Why aren't the parents of deaf children petitioning the court? Why aren't deaf people ourselves, who are, the literacy levels are not that great, the knowledge levels are not that good? We need to talk about the government education system, the Rehabilitation Council of India, and take them to court and tell them that, if you talk about equality, if you talk about the right to education, why is the deaf education sector so lopsided? Why aren't we having quality education? Because we don't have communication access. They might say that you have a different language. And, if we don't have literacy skills, if we have good knowledge, how do we fend for ourselves, our families? What do I do in my life? And all of these barriers are coming from education. But are we complaining enough? No, we are not. The government is very good with their blame games and, shifting the blame. But we have to get into the conversations with the government. Let them know, because they might not have heard. It might be the first time that you're meeting a department or a ministry and telling them that this is the issue and it has been there since a very long time. Because most of the people in the government, for example, the Department of Coal, Department of Roadways, Department of some other department, and tomorrow they would get into the Ministry of Social Justice, Department of Empowerment. They have no clue about disability, deaf education. We have to start meeting these people. We have to tell them about the importance of sign language, importance of, so there's a lot of in-depth education these people also need, and also let them know about, the thing is, when you see the oral lobby, as soon as there's a kid or any person who is orally successful with the help of a cochlear implant, they run to the government and let them know about this news that so-and-so person has become an oral success, this, that. Why are we falling behind? The deaf organizations, the associations, all of you are interested in deaf education. Why not we plan, get together, and not make this political? Because think about these deaf children. They are losing out every day. Millions of children are not getting access to their first language. It is harming their minds, their brains. These things cannot be repaired. We cannot improve all of this. There's no going back. So all these issues in deaf education, all the issues in the deaf ecosystem, parents don't know, the medical system is busy, feeding their own lobby of oralism. So, we still don't see enough complaints and agitation with the legal system. Again, research also, we don't have much research in India regarding the deaf education. So this is the broken state of affairs in the deaf ecosystem. So we need to come together. We need to work. We need to set up sustainable structures which actually take care of joining the broken links to the deaf education system. Because we have the government, it is supportive. The NGOs, if they can all come together with, everyone coming together, every year we see gradual change. It doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in a year. It takes 10 to 20 years, decades. But this coming together is very, very important. So hopefully all of us who've been seeing me understand what I'm talking about. And I'm totally okay with your questions. Yeah, Deepak, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sivaji, for explaining your presentation and explaining the ecosystem of deaf education in India, which is actually needed, and turning on the lights of everyone. So that's how deaf people would understand what's actually we can do much better for deaf people, deaf children's life. So we have to focus on these areas as well. And thank you so much. So there would be questions from the participants, but we would be holding it on. And
But anyway, thank you so much, Sibaji. Thank you for being here. And any doubts, any questions which are referred to you, we would request you to please come back. Thank you so much, Sibaji.
so, hello everyone. We can see that we have just heard this Mr. Sivaji's presentation, and now we will be having Kanika, and so we would like to have a poll question now, and after that we will be having Kanika here for the presentation. So as you can see, the poll question second, hearing teachers, as you can see that we have hearing teachers in the school of deaf children, they still don't accept the sign language in schools. So if you see that, yeah, there are teachers not accepting the sign language, then you have to answer yes. If you see that there are teachers, they are ready to accept the sign language, then you have to click on no option. Let me explain you the question once again. So I will ask you a poll question. For example, I see that when you see that there are hearing teachers in the schools of the deaf children, they are not ready to accept the sign language. If you think likewise, then click on the answer yes. If you think no, there are teachers accepting the sign language and they are ready to do it, then you have to click on the option no. I hope the question is clear to everyone. Yes means that teachers are not ready to accept the sign language, and no means that teachers are ready to accept sign language. So yes, if you are answering yes, that means the teachers, they are not accepting the sign language. So be careful while you are answering the question. So there are 111 people who have answered. So we would need more people to answer the poll questions. So deaf children who have the hearing teachers in their schools, teachers who are not ready to accept the sign language, you have to click on the option yes. And if you think the teachers are ready to accept it, then you have to click on the option no. We would be waiting for your answer. I hope people would answer. I think people are done with the answer to the poll question. So as you can see, the answers to the poll question, people have said 53% yes, the teachers are not ready to accept, and 47% people have said no, that means teachers are ready to accept sign language. I hope question was clear to everyone. If you would like me to explain once again, okay, let me explain it. So if there are teachers who are not ready to accept, for that people have answered yes, that means that teachers are there who are not ready to accept. And for the no option, that means teachers are ready to accept the sign language. So people have answered the question. So after we are done with the second poll question, now we would be having a third poll question. You have to be careful while answering the third question. So the third poll question is, the hearing parents of deaf children do not like to learn sign language. So if you think that they do not like to learn, then you have to click on yes option. Or if you think they are interested and they would like to learn the language, then you have to click on the option no. Okay, let me explain it once again. The hearing parents of the deaf children, parents, they do not like to learn sign language. And if you have seen this thing, so you have to click on the option yes. If you have seen that there are parents who are ready to learn language, then you can click on the option no. So you have you have to see what you have observed in your near around area, like where you have seen the deaf children's, and if the parents, they are ready to learn and they are not ready to learn. So as per your observation, you have to answer. It's nothing related to your own experience. So what do you feel? What's happening more in the society, where the parents they like to learn the sign language or not? Whether if the deaf parents are there, then that question would not related to them. But yeah, if the hearing parents of deaf children, they don't want to learn a sign language, then you have to click on the yes. But if they are ready to learn the sign language, then you have to click on the option no. Yes, I think Shruti want to say something. Okay, sure, I'll explain once again. I hope it was clear. Let me explain you once again. So you can see the poll question that it's saying, if the hearing parents of the deaf children, if they do not like to learn a sign language, then you have to click on the option yes. Or if they would like to learn the language, then you have to click on the option no. I hope the question was clear. So we have 184 people, and now 121 people have answered the poll question. We would like to have more people to answer it. If you have any doubt, I can explain it once again. Yes, Ashna, you are asking. Yes, if you have answered, if you have answered the poll question, just wait for a while and we will be showing you the results soon. I think it's done. Okay. People have answered the poll question. So you can see the poll results that parents who do not want to learn the sign language, there are 58% participants who have answered for this one, and people who have answered for the hearing parent who would like to learn the sign language are 42%. So that was the poll results given by the participants. So 58% are saying that means hearing parents are not ready to learn sign language. So now Kanika would be explaining how hearing parents they can get ready to accept this language. So earlier we saw that there was 53% and we will see that 58% now 53% will see what could be the reason. Earlier the answer was 53 but now 58. So thank you for your answering the poll questions, and now we will be going ahead with the Kanika's presentation. Hello Kanika, we would like to welcome you here. Thank you for joining us. Kanika, if you can, I would like to share brief about Kanika. So at the she born hearing, and at the 11 years of age she had a hearing loss, and that was a challenge. So she born as a hearing child, and she was not involved in the deaf community, and later on when she has a hearing loss, she started including with the deaf people, and she's a late signer. That was a complex situation for her as well, but whenever she tried to involve in the deaf community, there was some politics and all. So she had a self reflection, and she saw that yeah, she do have a deaf identity. So she wanted to work for the deaf community, and she wanted to do the action research. Action research means where she is working on the schools where the sign language is accepted or not, and she is counseling them and explaining them as well. So here we have Kanika, and she would be presenting here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so now Kanika can go ahead. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Can everyone see me well? Great, thank you. So this is quite a heavy topic, but I'm going to be brief. And as Sivaji already mentioned very clearly about the issues within the deaf ecosystem, and I totally agree, because I have lived that life, and I see so many deaf children suffering every day, and it breaks my heart. And if I was in their place every day, it's a waste of a life, and it's every day. It is that child, the child's peers, his friends, everyone, their friends, everyone. So we have to fight for it. But before the fight, we need to be united. I have the ecosystem, and this in itself is a huge topic, because the deaf community is heterogeneous. There are such diversity between the hearing levels, the identities, the orientations. So, and the community is not just deaf people. They're working professionals, teachers, medical people, and schools also. Schools have the administration, management, and the second group is the teachers, the parents. And when we think about deaf people in the employment sector, they're also in varied varied positions. So it requires a lot of linkages, because the roots, there's everywhere. Deaf people are everywhere. To connect all of us is going to be a huge challenge. It's going to be a lot of work. So we as a team, we were thinking where to start. And we thought, why not education as the first step? And as you see, the action research is related to education. And I will be talking further about this action research. Can we have the next slide, please? Next. Yeah. Can we click once more? See, so before I start, there's a background story. As Deepak said that, as Enable India is the mothership, and Here a Million is one project, and it is working on the deaf vertical, and it has been established primarily to work on two projects. And, one is focusing on entrepreneurship and researching about how employment, entrepreneurship also as an employment form, and second action research is on education. So, we conducted a survey early on to find do a baseline research, and we wanted to document all this information which we have. And with all the work we are doing, with every year, we make changes to the our, of course, the baseline research changes, how we are improving, and their baseline research and action research happening with both the entrepreneurship and the academic, the education action research. And this is planned every year. So I am focusing more on the education action research. And there's another team working on employment and entrepreneurship. So what I'll focus on now is going to be the experiences of our action research and what and how we can improve. Next slide, please. So when we started, there were a lot of workshop. I mean, there was no training, no workshops. We didn't have any help. And that's how we did the initial research. So there were a lot of key learnings from that initial research, which we are now going to talk about. So when we started asking our people, so the people who are supporting a deaf child, so teachers and parents, you sure would know, since you have been to deaf schools, teachers would hardly care and while aware their time, and we have no option but to copy things from the board, correct? But is this something which teachers are ready to accept? Are the kids going home and doing their work? So there were a lot of such questions. So, these questions were given to the kids as well. And we had clear answers where they said that no, our parents don't help, our teachers don't help. A very less number, 27%, parents and teachers both said that yes, their kids were monitored. They were monitoring their kids, and 20% of them said that the teacher does not focus on them at all. And a very less amount, also like 10% of them said that no, parents also don't monitor the kids. So what do these results make you feel? Growing up, the child, there's so many issues every child faces in education, in career, jobs, but parents and teachers are not aware about this. Let's see what more we found. Can you click again? Yes. About 50% deaf said that they didn't have teachers who, did not use sign at all. So while teaching deaf children, how do you use, what do? You use sign language, you write on the board, use visual mediums. What do you do? What were the methods used for communication by teachers? You would know many of them, just write on the board and keep talking to these kids. But the answers which we got were very different. Teachers said that, yeah, many of them, about 50% said that no, the teachers are not using any sign. We asked 10 kids, no? And five of them, sorry, we asked 10 teachers, and they 50% of them said that yes, they do, and 50% of them said no. So if 100 teachers, obviously it becomes 50%. 50 of them said that somewhat, and 50% said straight no, we don't use any sign. We would just write on the board and speak to our kids. They totally rejected sign language. And for us, the team, it was surprising because we know the situation, we know how, and at so many levels they're lacking. But of course, we were in a position not to, talk back there. And so that is the result. Half of them would say that they use some kind of gestures with writing and oralism, and 50% said they use sign language. And many of them said that they sign and write. Some of them also said we don't know how to sign, so we speak, we write, we draw some gestures. So the answers were varied. So the team were like, okay, yeah, we understand all these various perspectives. Can we go into the next slide? So this was our third question. So we asked them, the strategies which have actually worked for schooling of deaf children. These were we basically wanted their ideas and their strategies. And so you would know most of the answers is visual teaching, having a deaf teacher, using projectors in the classroom, using more bilingual methods, bilingual pedagogy. So you would know the probable answers, and those were the kind of answers which we also get. So, if as a deaf teacher, if I'm teaching, I'm sure that all these deaf students would not understand what, I've taught. Why not use peer learning method, right? So if you have the one kid who has understood very well, we could encourage that child, and that kid teaches the others. So many of the teachers also said that they follow peer learning. So if you just ask strategies that have worked, so it is very difficult for them also to put it into words. So they had very short answers that we make it visual, we try to sign, we try to, but there were also challenges which, they said that they didn't try to make it deaf friendly, but they were like, the words don't have signs. There's so many terms, we don't know the signs. There are no ISL signs. So that was something which we also had to focus on. And we also, there were students, alumni who had passed that education system. We wanted them to actually be assistants, volunteer their time, and come share their experiences. And these were the ideas which came from the various teachers. And yeah, let's see what's next. So after our initial baseline research, we had a lot of initial learnings. We had a lot of responses from the community, and that made us think that despite all these answers, which seemingly sound appropriate, why is the deaf education system still not improving? That's when we started thinking about workshops. And the workshops were 1 day physical or in-person workshop, and then 1 or 2 days of online workshops. So we called it digital workshops. And the training of the terms was the core aim. And the second was about, of course, deaf awareness about the educational strategies and stuff like that. And you would see how we call these workshops phygital. What does this word mean? Maybe it's a new term for all of you. Let's see what it means. So we take the PHY of the physical word, which basically means in-person sessions, where we told you that we go 1 day for these in-person physical sessions. And then 2 days we have digital sessions, right? Where all these parents, teachers, everyone else are then at home, and they can join us online. There were also, issues where timing was a constraint, where teachers said that we won't be available, stuff like that. So online, we had 2 days, one for teachers and the other day for parents. But the physical workshop, all teachers and parents had to come. And we wanted the hearing teachers also, to come in. And we had to give them flexibility since they were working people. So we kept it online so that all of them were at home, and they joined online, and we could have the digital workshop. So that's the term. It comes from mixing physical and digital. Now, how many sessions did we have? Let's check that out. So there are two logos at the bottom of the slide. What do you see? Do you see two logos? There's a connection, right? The ham team, and there's the arrow, which is actually pointed towards deaf kids, teachers, parents. So that was it. We targeted 10 schools. And they would have surely had a lot of workshops. But how are we different? So, what generally happens during workshops, the audience, mostly in these schools would have had some hearing expert coming into their session, talking for hours. But, the teachers actually assume that what these hearing so-called experts come and teach us is going to teach the help in their deaf education. But when we went in, we told them that no, we are going to work with you on you. And this entire workshop, we have a good team, strong big team, and we told them that this is going to be in sign language. So when we told them that the team conducting these workshops are going to be deaf and using sign language, that was a surprise for them. And our methodology was more interactive, activity based, having discussions where for the first time we thought parents they need to come out of the bubble, right? And there were success stories of deaf individuals which we actually had to share with all these parents and teachers, because they need to know that there's so many deaf people who are actually working in various places, have achieved what they want, and they probably would have never seen such deaf role models. And we had asked these kind of questions also about their deaf kids, and they didn't understand what, if their deaf kids could have careers. But after seeing these deaf role models and hearing about their success stories, it also increases the confidence of the parents that their deaf child is going to have a productive future. And next was that, there's so much that we have a wealth of resources which are freely available. So many organizations, have provided materials freely to support deaf children. But the problem is that the teachers and the parents do not know about these resources and where to find it. So I could see so many parents and teachers taking, notes, because they didn't know that so many resources and platforms already existed. So I saw these things happening in front of us. So these were the key elements of the workshops. First thing was having deaf trainers conducting the sessions in sign language. Then the visual and interactive teaching method, which we had. Third was the success stories of deaf adults and role models, and letting them know about the freely available resources to support their deaf children. So we are totally armed with all these things and, go to these organizations. So these are some of the freely available resources for the deaf. These, our audience members were amazed. And, the confusion which the teachers had, the parents had about what to do with their deaf kids, how to teach, how to talk about certain concepts. We have so many platforms. We have educational platforms. We have news platforms. And the list goes on. And we showed all these platforms and resources to them. Many of the parents, they knew that they couldn't communicate with their kid, with their deaf child. And they took down they noted down about, the news channels which were providing news in sign language. And they were so thankful because they wanted to provide information for their kids, accessible information. So they were going to use this information and show it to their children. And they were very grateful for us being able to show these things to them. Now, let's see the experiences of, the team going to the different schools. So, of course, before we had to connect with all the schools in these three main cities, Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. So we tried connecting with all the schools. The school in Bangalore didn't work. Yeah, we would just see. So the Bangalore schools, most of the schools in Bangalore did not respond, saying that the teachers were busy, students are having examinations. So we had to call them so many times, and we just didn't get a positive response, and it basically, kept postponing. Then Delhi, also, we have not got a positive response because same problem, exams or the schools were not open. But Mumbai, we have, 5 workshops in 3 schools already because of our network and connection. And as I told you, we had the key elements, having deaf people conduct the sessions, audiovisual interactive methodology, ensuring we talk about success stories and the resources. So how did we conduct these workshops? And what were the positive experiences? So the schools in Mumbai, when we had the in-person workshop, it's a 3-hour workshop. After we finished it, most feedback came from the parents, and it was diverse. The teachers also, talked about a lot of things, which they were honest enough to tell us that, there was so much newness and novelty in this information, which we didn't know about at all. And, some of our team, our experiences also, and many of them, many times there were talks about various workshops and stuff like that, but parents didn't have time or the teachers don't have time. But for the first time, when we had this workshop, they accepted it. There were budget issues, of course, but the schools in Mumbai, they had a separate hall booked and they also paid for it. This was a very positive sign because generally schools don't do things like this. This was the first time something like this happened. They arranged everything. They managed the payments, etc. Some parents also told us that, we have seen a lot of workshops, but we still worried about how our child couldn't speak, the child was deaf, all the doctors telling us not to sign with the child, forcing speech on them, and so much of rejection around sign language, practicing speech. But we saw that, it was not useful for our kid at all, and we were totally exhausted. And for the first time, in this workshop, they realized that what a big mistake they had created, that if, only if they had this awareness, this interest in learning about their child and learning about the sign language, and they felt so bad about being where they are at this point of time. So many parents went through this process where our workshop really hit their heads really hard. They had that pinch moment. And teachers also actually told that they didn't know that whether their teaching methodology was right or wrong. And they always were, there was a lack of talking places where they could discuss all these things. And having a deaf educator, they felt very comfortable talking to us. And they were so grateful for having us there. So much of respect we got from there. And it was a very positive experience. Let's see what more we experienced. These are just 2 pictures. We had many, about 100 such people who were coming in, but these are just, you could see very few. But let's understand what we learned. The target members, the audience, basically 3 groups: the deaf children, the parents of these deaf children, and teachers. These were 3 important stakeholders. And after finishing our workshop, whether it was impactful enough or not, whether they understood or not, whether they agreed upon, the feedback actually gave us these answers. We were surprised about the kind of feedback which we get. So let's see what were the feedback which made us really happy. The parents actually gave us a lot of positive responses and positive feedback. They said that, yes, they are starting ISL, the school is starting ISL. Parents were very happy. They were eager to, attend the next workshops. They were like, no, we'll definitely not miss it for anything. But before they said that, we didn't have time. And you see how their perspective changed. Third was all the kind of tools, materials, websites, links, games, activities which we showed to these stakeholders. They really received it well and liked it very much. For example, the success stories and the deaf role models, they were like, first time we are hearing about deaf people who are, achieved so much, and they took notes. They noted down, and they really liked it. And there was a lot of proactive participation where the teachers and partners, parents. But, you know, in the previous workshops, the teachers were not so proactive. They didn't have so many questions. So it was clear that it didn't make sense to them, these previous workshops. But our workshops were definitely very impactful for parents as well as teachers. It really helped opening up their horizons. But of course, there are things which we need to improve. And there were things which made us sad. That although, teachers and parents said they love the workshops, they actually, in the actual takeaways, uh, they didn't remember things for a very long time. In a couple of hours or the day, they lost it. So they were said, when they go back to their homes or there's back to their routine, they're confused and they don't remember those key pointers clearly. Also, something is that, the activities and the engagement is, 1 hour or 2 hour only, which they wanted more of it. They wanted more time and activities. But we had limited time. And also, in one day, connecting with kids, kids respond and kids actually communicate in a very different way. We have to, simplify things for them. But then we also had adults in the class, in the same group. So that was a challenge for us as a team, how to adapt according to both the age groups. Then many of the teachers, had said that, yes, we use ISL, some bit of ISL, but many of the teachers also, they couldn't understand the signs completely. They would just say that we know sign language, but in reality, they were not so fluent in sign language. And the deaf kids also are suffering because they are not happy with the kind of ISL their parents and the teachers use. So this was something which we actually wanted them to be aware about. They need to work on their sign language skills. And this was something which, really made us feel really sad. So now what is next? What is the way forward? We have to try to build a community of teachers and parents. Of course, promote more awareness about Indian Sign Language, give them various platforms where they can enhance their signing skills. Also, when there are issues where deaf children are not in a comfortable place, they are not happy, they're going through stress, there's commotion at home regarding communication, stuff like that. So you also have to ensure that you provide deaf-centric communication modalities. And for that, we are definitely going to be there to support them. Then again, ISL skills, many of them, after our workshop, realize the importance of having continuous training on ISL. So we have to tell them how to enhance their signing skills, how to enable more deaf-friendly techniques, and provide more support for parents and teachers. So with that, I come to an end to my presentation. We take the presentation off. So this was our experience and we learned a lot from it. And if you remember what Sibaji said about the deaf ecosystem and the importance of having a strong ecosystem. So we have to start with having the parents of deaf children and the teachers of the deaf coming into the fold, coming into the community. We need to, empower parents. We need to provide and host more learning platforms for them. We also need to have more people stand up and demand for change, and really look beyond what is actually, habitual, and work towards enhancing the structures and networks, and make a strong network which makes our work easy. Because we have to show, because if we have proof, if we have stories, if we have proof, our fight is easier. And there are many schools which are providing education in sign language. BIL, Indoor Deaf School, there's so many. We know about it. But at the same time, we also have to think about the local areas. There's so many schools. We have to reach out to a lot of schools and get them into the fold, talk to them, have workshops. And it has to be a series of workshops. We have to reach out, we have to mobilize, and definitely try to create more unity within our ecosystem. So with that, I would like to thank you.
Waving hands. Thank you, Kanika. Your presentation was so interesting. We would like to see more and more, and we would like to see that such awareness would be spread across all over India. We need to spread it across. So the deaf, the deaf schools, they are not aware. The teachers, they are still using the same pedagogy, and they are not trying to change. But I think situation will get better in the future. But thank you so much, Kanika.
Thank you.
Detailed presentation. So I think we are running out of time, but we still can give 10 more minutes for the question answers, and we would take only 3 questions. So if you would like to ask Kanika or Mr. Sibaji, or you can ask your question. Okay, so I would like to ask Kanika. Okay, you would like to ask Kanika. Can we have Kanika here? Okay, so I have a one doubt. Sorry, I would like to ask you 2 questions. No, 3 questions. You can ask only one. So, okay, 2. You can merge 2 questions in one, and you can ask that.
Okay, I'll do that.
For example, we have a 3 question. 3. Okay, we have 3 children. The elder one is deaf, and the younger one is deaf, and the second child is not getting aware seeing their siblings. So how a child can the second child is learning very well, and his education is very good, but how the second child can help the other siblings?
That's a good question. That advanced signing, or increased register, or more fluency in signing. Like, see, with Sibaji and me also, I grew up as a hearing person, not using sign language at all. And when I started getting connected with the deaf community, with the help of all these deaf friends of mine, my signing got better. But I myself was motivated. And there were many deaf people who advised, who, talked to me. But many also said that you won't be able to do it because my signing skills were not that great. I came into the session community very late, learned language very late. And there are many individuals who are communicate through written language or have good education but are not signing very well. So we have to open doors. Even as a hearing person, they have an ISL course they can learn, and similarly have the interpretation course. Hearing people also get into D.Ed, B.Ed courses, so that is where they can learn ISL. But us deaf people, we don't have courses for us to actually learn advanced levels of sign language, correct? So if that is there, they can have advanced signing skills.
So if I am a hearing person, and I can tell other people that you can easily talk to the other people while using the English language. Why are you learning ISL? So I know that yeah, ISL, I don't want to get the benefit from ISL learning from it, but they say that we can, we don't want to learn
Mm-hmm.
it. Why is it necessary to learn?
I understand. See, the thing is that first thing is self-awareness. And we also know that everybody in the community does not sign in the same way. There are many people who are cochlear implant users who are comfortable only speaking. There are people who are hearing aid users who communicate with spoken language as well. Then there's profoundly deaf people who uh, prefer to use only sign language. Then there are people who actually use both sign as well as speech. So, I felt it, that getting, or there are a lot of people who feel the same, that it is just not enough being part of the hearing community. A lot of hard of hearing friends of mine who think that it's not important to have fluency in sign language, but that is their preference. We need to respect that, and you can tell them that hey, whatever it is, we still are connected. Okay, we are still friends, and that is the mutual respect. We cannot start mocking them for their preferences. It is their difference of opinion and preference, and we need to respect that.
Right. So there is one more question. Can I ask one more?
I actually am really sorry, but we can take this offline and talk later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so Rinku is here. Yes, Rinku, you can ask. You would like to ask Kanika? I
Yes.
would like to ask Kanika.
Yeah, I didn't know her sign name. So it was a great session. I saw it completely. And one thing out of your PPT, I mean, it was fantastic. I understood everything. So, when we teach ISL to students, they feel really excited. And, if these students, these hearing people who learn sign language from us, do they actually, advertise about it and talk about it?
So, we started with our workshop. That was the first time, and we wanted 200 above schools. We wanted to visit in the 100 above schools, but that was just 5 schools. That's all. And we went to
Okay.
5 schools. We have 5 multiple workshops in our 3 schools. So, we did the record sessions and other things as well. So when we are done with a lot of workshops and all, when we have a great experience, then we would be spreading it across. I couldn't, go ahead with at all the places. We have to see if we have the other deaf teachers who are skilled as well, and if they would like to go ahead with this workshops in their local areas as well, then we can train them for that, and that's how we can
Correct.
enlarge this scope as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's my first thing. The second thing, last,
I'm so
please.
sorry, so sorry, we can take it later.
Okay, that's okay. I accept that. So are there any young girls out there in the audience? No questions from any young women?
So I think we have to take the last one. Let's see. Kanika, you can be here.
My question is to Kanika. I actually had 3 questions, but oh, sorry, Kanika, I can actually, there are 3 things which I am actually going to talk to you later about. I can connect with you later, but at this point of time, I want to question Sibaji. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Okay, can we have Mr. Shivaji?
Yeah, hi, hello. This is the first time I'm meeting you. I am from Nasik, Maharashtra. My question is, I'm part of the group, if I talk about parents, deaf parents group and hearing parents group, I'm talking about my experience post-COVID and pre-COVID. I don't know if you've seen the same thing with the ham workshops. Deaf kids, deaf parents, if they have deaf children, they have that a good community. But when they have deaf parents who have deaf children and they get cochlear implants and go for here, or oral technologies. So, if during the COVID time, there was, I took these sessions with them. I actually didn't know about, I am not a registered organization, but we did talk a lot about, the importance of sign language and all that. But what you spoke about, the ecosystem, and, I have been sharing MBM videos with these different groups of parents who are actually, still wanting to understand. But many parents, don't want to talk about their deaf children. There are many such parents all over the country. We need to start reaching out to them, and we need to tell them about the success stories. We need to get the parents together from various states, and that's how the education system changes for the school, right? What do you think about it?
Okay. So, right now the cochlear implant, it's spreading across so fast. That's okay. And the other thing, we have hearing aids and the other assisted devices. So people are actually doing business of it, and the government is providing funds. But how we can go ahead with this? The power is lies with the parents. For
But the
example,
parents don't have budget and money.
so parents are hearing, so the government, if they are, I mean, talking to the parents of the deaf children, they're saying that, there are the good results being found out in the Western countries, and they are approving the budget of 500 crores. The parents, they have the power. So the group in which the hearing parents, and they are deciding for the cochlear implant, what they can do a lot in it. They can connect with other people, and they can generate and spread the awareness as well. That's more important in society as well. But if they would like to have a quality education, then they are stuck. We have RTI, and they can fight for it. In the Maharashtra government, they can actually let the government know about this fact. But sometimes they talk about the education, that's the average one. And the deaf, and if there are leaders, there are Kanika is there in Mumbai, and Hera Milan is also working, so you can do the advocacy work along with other people as well. So if you would like to have a quality education, you need to do the advocacy work. But you want to get a white collar job, but you are not educated enough. So that's more important to have your own ideas, and to be more open towards to have the quality education.
See, we already have, these discussions, and I saw that most of them would say we are busy with family life, we're busy with work. So the deaf parents of the children who are getting cochlear implants are very interested, but the others are not.
So I think it is not something like if you have to do it alone. You can connect with Here a Million team, and they have a team who are working on the education part, and there are other deaf leaders as well. You can talk to them how you can get the support. They can guide you, and that's how you can get it done. But the quality education, it's more important. That's nothing like an activity only, and you need to get it. If you want to become as equal as with the hearing parents, then you need to have it.
So I really would like to invite you to Nashik to come for an session.
Yes, definitely. I would really love to come over there.
Thank you, Sibaji. Thank you, Ham.
Okay, so that was the last question. I know there are a lot of people who would like to ask a question, but we have a limited time. I hope next time we can have the session, and then you can ask your queries. Can we have a PPT, please? So this is the wrap up of our session, and I will be sending out the link. You can see the link in the chat box. So there is a feedback form, and you can fill it up. So the feedback form link is in the chat box, and as you have seen the presentation given by Mr. Sibaji and Ms. Kanika, you can give us the feedback. And if you would like to have more updates from Hera Million, you can follow our social media page which are available on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and YouTube as well. So for next month, for the 9th Manthan, if you would like to attend it, if you would like to have a new topic covering it in the next Manthan, you can mention that in your feedback form. So at the last, I would like to thank a lot to Mr. Sibaji and Ms. Kanika for coming, for joining our sessions and giving us the presentation so that we can get the quality education for our deaf students here in India. Only a Hera Million people can't do it. We need to have a support from other people as well. That's how we can achieve our goals, and we have to work together. So we would like to thank the team of the Hera Million and also Deepak for handling Zoom and the presenters and also showing the poll questions. And also to the interpreters, would like to thank Saurav and Manisha for their interpreting work. That's all? No, we would like to thank you as well. You actually make our sessions more valuable by your presence in these sessions. So 8th Manthan is over. No, we will be going to do more Manthans in the future months, and we will be sharing more updates. So at the end, I would like to ask to fill the feedback form. And if you have any ideas or your thoughts, you can add that in the form, and we will be planning that in the future. So you can start filling up the form. Thank you so much.